hell do you mean the god of love was potentially related to Julius Caesar? That and more in this video. Okay, so let's get into Venus. This is a continuation of the last video, and you really cannot follow up Mars without paying Venus an honorable mention. So the look that I have planned for this look isn't necessarily the soft glam that you would maybe expect when talking about Venus. I have it sketched out. I'm cooking. Venus is one of those deities that looks very easy to understand on a surface level, especially when you look at her Greek counterpart, Aphrodite. But she's a lot more than just, you know, love, romance, beauty, aesthetics, all that. And in fact, the Roman Venus is very malleable, I think is the right word, and we'll get into that. So when you look at deities of like love, fertility, beauty, and all that, you go back in history before you even reach Venus or Aphrodite, and you reach somebody named Ishtar. So Ishtar was the goddess of war, lust, and love in Mesopotamia. She has a very big modern-day pagan following, which I think is pretty cool. She was part of the Anunnaki, and it was an elevated tier of deities who include Enki, Ninhursag, Nana, Utu, and of course Ishtar. I probably did not pronounce those names right. I am still very much dipping my toes into Mesopotamian mythology, so my pronunciation will get better, and I eventually do want to make videos about them because they are very fascinating and they are the origins of literally most other pantheons. The texts are so limited that this group of gods is not very well understood, and according to the Sumerian myth, Enki and the world order, they were tasked with deciding the fates of human being, and one Babylonian account states that Marduk, the chief god, had authority over 600 gods. 300 of them were up in the sky, the other half were down on the ground, so saying that they were heavenly or otherworldly beings is just incorrect. Before I put any makeup on my face, even before my primer, I cleaned my face and I used my Kate Somerville goat milk sample that I got in an Ipsy bag, and I really like how my skin prep is making my foundation lay. I've been holding off on getting that Kate Somerville full size because it's $46, but I think it might be worth it, and it doesn't irritate my skin at all, and just look at the results, y'all. And again, the Mesopotamian gods and the Anunnaki by extension and Ishtar herself are separate topics for 3 separate videos, and I will get into them later down the line once I do more research into them. But where Venus falls into this is that the Mesopotamian astronomers identified the goddess Ishtar with the planet Venus. And they identified it with Ishtar because Venus is the brightest object in the sky aside from the sun and the moon, and its appearance as both the morning and evening star perfectly mirrored Ishtar's duality as a deity of both love and war. So you've probably heard the words morning star together in relation to none other than Lucifer Morningstar, whether it's Tom Ellis's version or what some conflate with the devil. He is also connected to Venus, but we will get into that. And I just want to pause here and say this is where her lore gets really complicated, and she's very much connected to everyone and everything, specifically the Roman version of Venus, because the deity of Venus in Roman mythology didn't necessarily exist until after the Greeks co-opted it. I hope that makes sense. Some accounts of Roman mythology actually referred to the planet as Lucifer, which is a word considered sacred to Venus. So in Latin, Lucifer means light bringer or light bearer. Because of translation and scriptural sources, the passage Isaiah 14:12 later became associated with the name Lucifer, and then it entered in traditions by various means after that. So there is no direct connection between the Roman Lucifer and the devil. I want to clarify that right now. Lucifer is an approximation of the Hebrew word Hallel used in that passage, which means the shining one. And the description is usually describing angels, which plays into his role in Christian tellings as a former angel. I can do an entire video about Lucifer and how he's been misconstrued, but that's another video. A little side tangent, but the more I research these gods and everything, especially from like the Roman and Greek pantheon, and then whenever you even get into Slavic mythology and seeing how they've been co-opted through Christianization and all that, and retranslated, it gets very overwhelming on your brain, because then you're like, oh my god, I want to learn about this and this and this, and how do I combine this all into one video to get the most accurate telling? I am doing my best. Like with Mars, I want to mention the astrological aspect alongside the astronomical aspect. Venus in someone's astrology chart is where somebody experiences love, how they express it, their aesthetic taste, and where they cultivate beauty in their lives. The planet is ruled by Taurus and Libra and exalted in Pisces. And I want to center in on the Pisces aspect, because Pisces is known for blending in and being up to perception and creating a dreamlike state as it drifts from one thing to the next. And Venus is very mutable. She is very much whatever you need her to be, and that's very much Pisces energy within astrology. Before I continue with talking about Venus, I want to talk about this brush I got in a set from BS Mall. You can buy it on Amazon. I'll put the link below. It's in my storefront. I was so confused about what to do with this brush, because, like, look at it. It has, like, angle. Like, almost a 90-degree angle, if not a 90-degree angle. I needed something better to contour my nose. Watch this. This little hook down here is what I'm calling it. It's really good for getting the tip of your nose and going up and blending it into your brow bone. I'm trying to make my nose contour look less crazy, and I think that this brush is going to be very valuable for that. It's also very good for getting some shadows right here on the sides of your nostrils and under your nose. It makes such a difference whenever you understand how to contour your nose properly. The shape of your nose contour brush makes such a difference, because before, y'all saw, I was just going in with my big angled brush that I use all over my face. Should not have been doing that. I'm feeling a blush combo today. We're getting crazy with it. I'm going in first with my Beauty for Certain stick in Sangria. This stuff's very pigmented and I like it a lot. Always taking it on the back of my hand before I put it on my face now. Back to Venus. She has been described as Rome's most original creation. She's recognized for assimilating to whatever the narrative needs of her. So many historians and scholars recognize her as, in their words, ill-defined and inconsistent, appearing different across every story she shows up in. One thing remains consistent across everything, though. She is tied to what people value and prioritize. For the second blush, I'm using my Essence Baby Got Blush in 10 Tickle Me Pink. It's a lighter one, and I'm going to take that all the way up to my eye. I like to place my blush on the highest part of my cheeks and take it into my eyes. I just think that it gives me a very defined look, and it elevates this plane of my face a lot. If you're not setting your creams with a powder blush, I don't know what you're doing. I'm taking my Milani Dolce Pink. This is where you can use your big brush and get a little silly with it. But make sure that you're putting it in the same spot. You don't want to suddenly drag it here. So Venus is not just romance or attraction. She shows up in social dynamics. She shows up in wealth. It shows up in the choices that people make every single day and how these things define them. So somebody's motivations and values ultimately become who they are, and it shapes their actions. So Roman mythology presents Venus as a watery, mutable, feminine force who is essential to balancing life and creating it. As her male counterparts, Vulcan and Mars are more active and less yielding. So Venus was thought to give military victory, considering her relationship with Mars. Generally, Venus provides fertility, romance, and prosperity. One telling actually presents her as the goddess of prostitutes, and another, Venus transforms lust into hard-earned virtue within humanity. She is heavily associated with the element of water, and people focus on the whole born from sea foam thing, partially because of her Aphrodite connection. It's very aesthetically pleasing and makes for some very awesome paintings, but the actual context is that the foam comes from a violent overthrow. In theogony, Aphrodite is born after Uranus is attacked and overthrown, and what's thrown into the ocean created Aphrodite. But it is at this point in the video that I would like to remind everybody that Venus's story really did start after Aphrodite. Let's talk about Julius Caesar. He traced his family tree, he did a little ancient 23andMe, and concluded that Aeneas, Venus's son and a Trojan War hero, all traced back to him. Whether or not he actually believed it, the world may never know, but at the time it gave him a lot of political leverage and it rallied the people around him. He used this so-called connection to justify how he ruled in the Roman Empire. He vowed a temple to Venus at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC, and the Temple of Venus Genetrix was the centerpiece of his Julian Forum. The man even minted coins depicting Venus and her son fleeing Troy with his father on the reverse. Caesar also adopted Venus the Victorious as his patron deity, crediting her for all of his battlefield successes. He was milking the hell out of this supposed connection in the damn 23andMe results. Before we dunk on Caesar too hard, I want to clarify that a lot of Romans actually believed that they had some kind of connection to the gods. They all did the ancient 23andMe to trace their lineage back to any given god, so his campaign tactic was not questionable or strange to anybody at the time. But what makes Venus especially important here is that her son Aeneas wasn't just any mythical child. He was a Trojan survivor, the Trojan survivor who helped connect the old heroic world to Rome's future. Basically, all of this means that Venus was not just a convenience in Caesar's campaign. She was cemented into Rome's history and helped establish it as the divinely favored empire. And you know, as funny as it is to imagine the goddess of love in any way connected to Julius Caesar, I think that it again proves just how mutable and malleable Venus is. This is probably one of the most egregious examples of her being used to suit somebody's narrative. Alright y'all, I'm back. I used my LA Girl Jetsetter liquid liner for this. I was not about to talk and yap while I was doing this. This was a delicate operation. I'm back. You'll probably wonder why I got a gap in the eyeliner. I said I was cooking and I'm still in the kitchen. Don't rush me. Let's get back into this. So, like I said, she's very mutable, and I think Julius Caesar using her as a campaign strategy essentially proves that. She has always been a deity who shifts depending on who is looking at her. She is truly in the eye of the beholder as to how she will be perceived. She can be an ancestor, a symbol of power, a political tool, a goddess of love, a fertility figure, or a moral ideal. And now to fill in this gap here, I am using my Chariot palette, and now I'm filling in that gap. Just taking a blue shimmer and plopping it right in the center there. So, you know, people project meaning onto Venus all the time, so I guess in one way it's really powerful, but it's also unfortunate. She gets used to support empires, lineages, beauty standards, and cultural ideals. Alright y'all, I did my lashes and I tight lined off camera, so I want to do my lipstick and wrap this video up. I'm really excited about my lipstick today because I got it from Kaleidos on TikTok shop because I had a coupon, so I was able to get 2 of these for like $9. And this is the shade Agave, and I'm really excited to try it out. I've seen these all over the internet, and I'm so excited to try these finally. And to wrap up about Venus, she is one of Roman mythology's most recognized figures, but she doesn't really have a story of her own. She is constantly reshaped by this. Her stories are constantly reshaped for whatever purpose people need her to serve. She can feel very elusive. If you've ever tried the NYX soft matte lip creams that I think are just the smooth lips now, this has the same consistency, but it's a little softer. Alright, y'all, and that's the look. My camera died while I was filming at the end there when I was putting my lipstick on, but I do really love this Kaleidos lip clay, and I'm excited to try more shades of it. So again, this was the shade Agave, and I love the formula. I hope you guys enjoyed learning more about Venus and her potential connection to Julius Caesar. My next video will be about Ares, which is Mars's Greek counterpart, and then I have a few more war gods planned and a few Greek gods before I jump back into the Slavs, and I am planning to jump into other pantheons. As always, let me know if you guys have any requests, any questions about products I use. They will always be in the description. And did you know that a group of moths is called an eclipse, and that by liking and subscribing you not only support this channel, but you join my eclipse? And I think that's pretty cool. Thank you.